This is in regard to the Supreme Court pulling up. We're talking about pulling up Samay Raina, Vipun Goyal, Balraj Paramjeet Singh Ghai, as well as Sonali, Thakkar, and we have Nishant, Jagdish, Tanwar also being pulled up by the Supreme Court. They've been asked to publish an unconditional apology for making insensitive jokes that mock people with disabilities and rare diseases. The Supreme Court is asking them to file an affidavit showing what they did for the cause of rare diseases and disability. The Supreme Court is asking them to tell how much penalty should they get. That is the question that has been asked by the Supreme Court. They have said that you cannot on social media under the garb of freedom of speech make any kind of speech. This is something that is not applicable when it comes to commercial speeches, and which is why it's not applicable to social media platform as well. The question is of commercial speech, and also questioning the centre that are you framing guidelines? What are the guidelines that you're framing when it comes to social media? Now the centre has gone on to say that they are examining the guidelines. That is the response as far as the centre is concerned. So the Supreme Court's top stance are in fact asking for the comedians, the stand-up comedians, to issue an unconditional apology. Nupur joining us. Nupur, take us to the proceedings in court, and the court coming down heavily when it comes to Samay Raina and others.
Well, yes, Divya, especially on Samay Raina, the Supreme Court, in fact, expressed its dismay over the kind of counter affidavit he has filed in the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court was told today that all the comedians who have been pleaded in the case after their insensitive remarks against persons with rare diseases and disability, they have supplied unconditional apology in the court. But the top court noted that this particular person, that is Samay Raina, he is trying to portray himself as very innocent in his counter affidavit and question the meaning of the apology he submitted in court while submitting that particular counter affidavit. Now the Supreme Court has asked them to file fresh unconditional apologies throughout their social media accounts and podcasts, and the Supreme Court has also asked them that how much penalty can they pay, what are their capacity to bear penalty over the insensitive jokes that they cracked against persons with disabilities and rare diseases. The Supreme Court has also asked them to come up by next hearing with an affidavit showing that what they have done to further the cause of persons with rare diseases and disability. This suggestion was in fact came from the organization that had moved the Supreme Court against these insensitive jokes by them. The organization said that since they are influencers, social media influencers, and have considerable following, they should in fact come forward as instead of penalty, they should be asked to pursue the cause and spread awareness about rare diseases and disability and do something about the cause. Then the Supreme Court gave them some time to do something, and the Supreme Court said that in the next hearing it will consider that what recourse they have taken, what all they are doing to pursue take forward the cause of rare diseases and persons with special disability, and then it will consider putting how much cost they want to put on these persons. And secondly, the Supreme Court has also asked the centre to clear its stance and come up with extensive guidelines and as to how it plans to regulate content on social media. The Supreme Court said that it does not want to issue any guidelines on itself because when Supreme Court passes something, there is no scope of judicial review. So it wants centre to come forward with proposed guidelines so that it can approach experts and stakeholders for their opinion for guidelines to regulate content on social media. Supreme Court also reminded the centre of very important concept, that is freedom of speech and the differentiation between freedom of speech and commercial speech. The Supreme Court said that these influencers, social media content creators are taking part in commercial speech, and freedom of speech here will not apply in the same way that it applies everywhere.
Right. Of course, so this apology that was tendered before the court is something that, the court has asked for them, basically directing these social media influencers, including Samay Raina, like you mentioned, to display that apology on their podcasts, on their programs for ridiculing disabled people. Nupur, get us a little, background on this case as to what really happened here.
Maybe everything started from this controversial episode of India's Got Latent, after which Ranveer Allahbadia and other Ashish Chanchalani were in fact sent notices. They came to Supreme Court also against FIRs filed against him. At that time, the Supreme Court had taken note of these remarks. The top court had said that there needs to be some guidelines, and in that case only, this organization Cure SMA pointed out to the Supreme Court that there is a list of comedians making insensitive jokes against persons with disability and rare diseases. The organization that works for persons with rare diseases told the court that these kind of jokes, exact kind of jokes, affects the cause adversely, and that's why they had moved the Supreme Court seeking guidelines.